Anybody have any questions?
Questions, anybody?
There's one behind you.
What is your experience as you're looking at each person? What is your experience as you're making eye contact with each of us?
I'm not making eye contact with anybody. There's nothing personal going on. When you look into my eyes, you're connecting with the divine. I'm not here. That's what the experience is. I've been told by some people that it doesn't seem that way because sometimes a smile will be coordinated with looking at someone's eyes right about the time they're smiling. But there isn't really any communication from anybody here. You're just getting whatever it is that the divine wants to give you in that moment. Yes.
What do you do to prepare before coming out into our group or a group?
Peter, the question is, what do you do to prepare before you come out in front of us?
There's not a particular thing that I do. I meditate on the divine. So I'm kind of doing the same thing you're doing, which is simply being receptive and open. And then the divine simply comes through. I do different things, different times during that preparation period, but it's not like there's this standard thing that oneness meditators do to prepare themselves. Each one does what's necessary to be in a state that will allow the divine to come through.
We have a question from the internet from Marcos. Peter, how do you feel the energy from people receiving Om?
I'm not here to experience anything like that. I'm not real familiar with what goes on during the oneness meditation. Whatever's going on there is being done by the divine. It is the divine. Like the first question, is there some kind of connection with an individual when our eyes meet? There's not. And I don't have any, I have the experience of what you see. You see some things on my face. You see, sometimes it looks happy, sometimes it looks sad, sometimes I cry. It's even not right to say I cry or I'm happy. It's just the divine is doing something. So I don't know how you all are feeling. It's just not part of the program.
Okay, so we have somebody else named Lou on the internet. Goes, Peter, I would ask you, how is your everyday life being awakened with family, at work, shopping, and other usual activities?
I don't shop. That's not true. I shop on the internet. Daily, it's kind of a cliche in oneness, but daily life is just automatic. There's no individual presence that suffers. I practice law, and when I do that now, the experiences that I have interacting with clients and opposing counsel, that sounds ugly, doesn't it? Is the same as it was before, but there's no personal aspect to it. There's no ownership of it. When, for example, if I argue with another lawyer, it just happens. It works itself out. It doesn't have this extra layer that it used to have, which was the interference from the mind reflecting on what's going on. So I can still feel while I'm having a conversation with another lawyer that I'm annoyed. Or put it this way, there's annoyance that comes up because that person's not agreeing with what I'm trying to get to. So that annoyance comes up, but the extra layer of commenting on, I don't experience things like, oh, this guy's an idiot, how can he possibly think that this argument isn't right? That kind of stuff doesn't come in. It's just very much what thoughts are needed in that moment. And that also doesn't mean that I win every argument either. And I just experience what goes on. The experience just happens. Family life is just incredible. And that's not just awakening. Awakening brings this complete acceptance of the others in your relationships, discovery of your bond with the divine brings this richness to all of your relationships, because you start to see the divine in the people who you're interacting with. Experience the divine through the people that you're interacting with. Even in my law practice, people come into my office and I'm like falling in love with them. It's amazing. I don't melt on the floor or anything like that, but I feel this connection with the other lawyers that I practice with, that I'm sure if I said to them, I just love you, they, I probably wouldn't be at the firm that much longer. But that's what my interaction with people is like. Strangers also. Opposing counsel sometimes. It's like when you see the divine in the people that you're interacting with, it's lovely. And I already said I only shop on the internet. That's not quite true, but but you know what that question might have been kind of directed at? What about the mundane everyday life sort of stuff, like driving? But that's true. That's why they said shopping, but I don't shop that much, so I can't identify with that. But I drive, and we all know how that can trigger things. I drive. I just don't get triggered. I just drive. People do silly things. I imagine they think I'm doing silly things, but it's just smooth.
So there's another question, and I'm sure a lot of us who are on the spiritual path, the gentleman asked, well, I've been meditating for 40 years and I'm not realized, will it ever happen for me?
I don't know. I mean, I started meditating in 1971, So that's 41 years. One more year and he'll... So, no. The thing that I think is really, really important about this wondering, am I ever going to get awakened, is that that's the mind, first of all, reaching a conclusion that you're not awakened, and then projecting that, oh man, it's not going to happen tomorrow, it's not going to happen the day after, when is it possibly going to happen? And I can identify with that really strongly because my first awakening experience was in 1976. It was extremely profound, very, very deep. It really changed my life completely. It almost completely stopped my suffering. There was just very, very little suffering after that. But I was completely confused. Not like, because I already said I wasn't suffering. It wasn't like I was, oh man, what's going on? My life just stinks because I can't figure out what's going on. It wasn't like that. But I was confused. I didn't really know how my life had changed. I knew it had changed, but I couldn't really grasp it. I couldn't appreciate it for some reason. I'm sure that's just, my karma that I had to go through. I'm not different than anybody else. Have all kinds of karma, all kinds of weird stuff going on, and my life, my consciousness shifted in a very, very big way. Everybody's can, and it will. Especially now. I mean, this is what's going on right now. I'm sure you all feel it. Is this, 2012 for me, I'm a lawyer. I kind of looked 2012, come on, I just, I didn't identify with all the sort of new agey, oh boy, isn't that, it's going to be really amazing. But it really is. I mean, I'm sitting here experiencing it going on, and it's just very incredible, very powerful, and you're all being influenced by that, whether you know it or not at this point.
So we have time for 2 more questions, Peter, so we got 2 more, 1 more here.
The shift from going from hands-on Diksha to the eye movement, and that's our transition lately. So could you explain that pathway?
Yeah, the hands-on Diksha is fundamentally different from the oneness meditation. And the oneness meditation is not eye Diksha, which is something that we've talked about in the past, and especially a long time ago some people gave, and then they didn't give it, and then a few people did, but it's different. The oneness meditation is not the same as Diksha. It's the presence of the divine. Diksha is divine energy flowing through, and let's not undercut the benefit of that. It's tremendous. The oneness meditation is a different experience. The oneness meditator is completely overtaken by the divine. That's what I mean when I say I'm not here. I don't really know what you all are experiencing and what's going on. I don't really know what I'm experiencing. And that presence is what you're experiencing. And that's different than what occurred with the hands-on Diksha. It doesn't mean hands-on Diksha isn't incredibly profound. They're different. And it's good to receive both of them.
Are you taken over by the divine at this moment?
Not as completely as when I was giving the oneness meditation, but I'm not back to normal yet.
We always say that it's a process, not a destination, awakening.
Yeah.
So for you, are you still going through, it's not a goal, but you're opening continually here, kind of,
Yes.
in life?
Yeah, you know what, two aspects to the process. And normally when we talk about process, it's like feeling bad and trying to work through it. That's not what I'm experiencing, but I'm experiencing still a process in two ways. One is that the experience of the witness consciousness just ever continues to expand. It just never, ever stops expanding. And the other aspect is what the Oneness University guides talk about as discovery. And discovery is what it relates to your developing bond with the divine. And the way they describe it is, first you have a connection with the divine. Then you culture a relationship with the divine, which is like, okay, I relate to the divine the way I relate to a mother or a father or a son or a best friend. And then there's the bond with the divine, which is where that relationship has become really, really close. And you start to experience that you actually interact with the divine during the day. That conversation of the divine sort of thing that we do sometimes, like in bhakti yoga and other times when someone might just suggest that you have a conversation with the divine, becomes daily life. It's just what goes on during the day. It's not begging, it's just conversing. You say, whoa, thanks, that was pretty cool. It would be really nice if, blah, blah, blah. And it's just what goes on. Now, discovery is this constant enrichment of your daily experience as you find that that bond gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And the bliss that flows through your body just becomes and that's my experience. I imagine that other people may have different experiences, but that's, at this point, that's what discovery is for me. It's that the divine is constantly loving me and holding me and hugging me and just... I had another teacher who used to say it was like sitting in your mother's lap when you're a little baby. L-I-G-H-T? Light? What? I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Are you experiencing the awakening as light at all?
Yeah. It's hard to talk about specific aspects of perception because they can really mislead people. I know are we okay with time? I know that in part of my confusion before I met Bhagavan and he straightened me out was that somehow I thought that a higher state of consciousness was going to be reflected in the way I saw things. I don't know why I got that concept, and everybody gets their own concept, but that was my concept, that somehow when I was awakened, there was going to be light in everything, and things would literally look different. And I was kind of waiting for that to happen. And I'd heard other people talk about experiences with light. I had a teacher who used to talk about how you could experience the subtle energy in every object as light. And so I'm kind of waiting for that sort of thing to happen. I do know that experience now, but it has nothing to do with awakening. Awakening, if you think you know what awakening is, you don't. Because you can't think it. It will be completely different than anything that you can think right now. If you think, oh, it must be big, it must be unbounded, it must be really cool. Whatever you're associating with those words is not what it is. Although, if somebody asked you, is it cool? You'd say, oh yeah. Is it unbounded? It's really big. You'd say that, but it wouldn't be what you conceive of as, what it is that those words hold for you.
Well, Peter, you have a couple of mundane tasks to do, go to the airport, catch a flight. Yeah. So we want to thank you so much for this post-question and answer sessions. It's really been amazing to us in the audience and also people on the internet. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
So everyone will say goodbye for now, and you can catch us on omsocal.org and also onenessmeditationevents.com for other worldwide webcasts. Thank you, and good evening, good night, and lots of love.